This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a old Maytag dryer that isn't spinning. You can hear the motor spinning, but the tumbler's not. And if you reach in and turn it by hand, you notice that it spins really easily. So there's no resistance from the motor because the motor's not hooked up anymore because the belt broke. So this is actually pretty easy, pretty fast to replace. We're going to make sure we got it unplugged or we have turned off the breaker so there's no power. And then we're going to take off two Phillips head screws from the lower left, lower right hand corner. They're kind of at an oblique angle, coming up at about 45 degrees. So you have to use like a short screwdriver to get in there. Once those are off, you pull the bottom of the front panel towards you by about 45 degrees. And then you can pull out the top clips that are holding it in. And then we don't have to disconnect the wires to the door switch. You can if you want, or you can just pull it off to the side. This is the part number for the belt. This is very common for these older Maytag dryers that are actually really good dryers. They last a long time. And then we're going to take off the part here in the front that's holding the tumbler in position. Here also you can find the part number for the belt. And this belt's kind of unusual. You want to flip it around so the cloth side goes in toward the tumbler, not the rubber side like on most dryers. So we're going to spin out these four screws that are holding in the bulkhead. The bulkhead kind of holds the tumbler and the frame together. So once that's off, you don't have to disconnect any wires. You can just take the bulkhead and move it off to the side. And now we're going to pull back on the tumbler a little bit so we have some room to work, and we can see the old belt in there. We're going to pull that out. These last a long time. That probably broke at about the 15-year mark. We take the new belt, we put it in cloth side toward the tumbler, and we bring it around the tumbler. Have to lift up the tumbler a little bit to get the belt to go back near the back, so it's over near where the motor is and where the idler wheel is. And then once we get that in position, we're going to pull the tumbler toward us a little bit more so that we can see the motor. We can see the motor pulley, the little round part to the left, and the big pulley here to the right is the idler wheel. And this picture shows how the belt goes over that big white idler wheel and how it also goes over the smaller motor pulley. So the rubber part, the black part, will be touching the metal motor pulley, and the cloth part will be touching the big white pulley idler wheel. And this will show you how you can put it on now. So we're going to first put it over the motor pulley, and then we're going to bring it over the idler wheel, and we're going to push real hard toward our left to get that belt to go up over the idler wheel. The idler wheel has a lot of spring tension, so you have to push pretty hard, and then as you push it, you're going to spin that idler wheel to help feed the belt over it. You also notice there's like a little metal guide near your left hand, and the belt has to go through that guide. You don't want to make sure the belt is not sitting on top of the guide, but you have to lift the belt up through the guide so it's not making any contact with that metal, because otherwise it would still work, but it would wear out the belt really fast. So once you got that on there, make sure that the black rubber part is against the metal motor pulley. Take a good look, make sure you got it, and then we're going to go ahead and push the tumbler back in toward the back of the dryer so it sits on the little wheels back there. And then we're going to carefully turn the dryer tumbler to make sure that that belt stays on. I usually at this point too also like to reach in and grab the belt and pull it a little bit toward me, because sometimes it'll fit down in a groove and you don't want it to be in the groove. You want it to be toward the front of the dryer by about 1.5 inches away from that groove. And you want to just make sure it's in position. Before you reassemble, turn it a couple times to make sure it won't pop off. If it does pop off, that's okay. Just pull it towards you again and then reroute it. So now we're going to put the bulkhead back on. And we want to make sure that the lower part of that bulkhead has a air duct and that fits right into where the blower fan is. And we're going to lift up a little bit to get the bulkhead into position, and then we'll put those 4 screws back in. Almost done. So we're making sure the front of the tumbler is supported, making sure that the lower part of the manifold ducting goes into the blower housing in the lower left-hand corner. We're putting those screws back in nice and tight. These are really good dryers. They often get in the 25, even 30-year mark, and they just keep going. Belts, probably break about every 10 to 12 years. The rubber just gets kind of weak. So we're just making sure it spins okay before we put the front panel back on. So push it in at the top, about 45 degrees, so the top clips engage. And then once you feel like they've engaged, then you let the bottom part come down. And then you're going to go ahead and put in the 2 Phillips head screws. Again, they go in kind of a weird angle, like 45 degrees. Need a smaller screwdriver. There we go. And we'll go ahead and plug it in, or turn the power back on, and then we'll give it a test. Turn it on so we can hear the motor. Sounds like it's spinning good. Open the door, we can see it's still spinning, so we know that's working. We know that the belt's connected. Test it one more time. There we go. Perfect. I like to go outside too and check the air volume at the dryer vent to make sure that there's no obstruction. Should feel kind of like a hair dryer, so pretty strong volume of air. This one feels good. So that did the trick. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe when you get a chance.